Hello, and welcome back to another Breyer customization video. Today we'll be making a Sooty Buckskin Akhal-Teke. Akhal-Teke? Yeah, I can't even pronounce English words, so hopefully that's right. I will be using this Breyer Ademec. Again, I'm sorry, I think that's how you say it. I also want to roach his mane and sculpt some collars on like the traditional Turkmenistan horses have. So this mane has to go. I did feel bad since this model is nice. I'm definitely going to have to get another one just to keep. I'm mainly using the sanding drum and a smaller triangular bit for in between the ears. And as always, I make sure to wear a proper mask, glasses, gloves, and some long sleeves. It's also helpful to have a fan to point to blow the smoke out of your face. Before I can sculpt, I draw up a design to get a better idea of what I want. I reference pictures of real collars. Historically, they were said to be the horse's share of the earnings after a battle. In Turkmenistan, horses are considered to be part of the family. With the concept done, now I can draw on where it will go. I used some rubbing alcohol to remove any of the mess-ups. Once it's looking how I want it, I make my noodles with Aves 2-part epoxy. I flatten and smooth the epoxy with 70% rubbing alcohol. Then I cut off any uneven edges with my X-Acto knife. I sculpt the edges sticking up where the buckle is. Next, I add the tiny little decorative elements. The collar will have these little dangly pieces, so I make sure that they are spaced evenly. For the second collar, I flatten the epoxy and cut out a strip. I don't make it the whole length since it will be hidden under the other collar in the front. I make teeny noodles for the little puff tassel in the front. Now for the last collar, it will match the first one. To make the roached mane, I add, you guessed it, more noodles. Once it's the height I want it to be, I sculpt in the hairs with my knife. Once that all hardened, I sand off the logo and any seams, which this model was pretty clean. I do it once over with the 400 grit sandpaper so the primer will stick better. I'll be using this Duplicolor sandable primer. Once that dried, it's time for airbrush. As usual, I'm using this Model Air acrylic in my Azteca airbrush. I start with a layer of white so that the color will be more vibrant. I'm working light to dark since that's easier, so my base color is this yellow tan. Then came time to mix my next darkest shade, and my brown wasn't coming out. So yeah, maybe don't aim your bottle of paint right at your horse. While it was still wet, I got off as much as I could with a paper towel, but ultimately I had to cover it all with another layer of white and then paint the tan back on. Now that we're back on track, I can shade with this darker orange. I use the Sculpt as a reference and use darker colors as I work in thinner sprays. So here's the final airbrushed look. I kept it pretty light since most of the dark will be done with pastel. I sealed it off camera with my Mr. Superclear to give it a paper-like texture. Now I can apply the Panpastel with my eyeshadow brushes. My obsession with YouTube beauty gurus is finally paying off. Now I go right in with black, but in hindsight I should have built it up with some brown first to help it blend. Once I have a layer down, I take my kneaded eraser and erase where I want the dappling. I try not to make them just circles so that they come closer to touching each other and look more natural. I also make them different sizes, making sure to look at reference. I seal it in with more Mr. Superclear and add another layer. I go over everything, including the dapples, and just go back in with the eraser. I do about 4 layers of this. On the last layer, I add some dark brown on the edges of the black and some light orange to the highlights. I'm just using some regular black Liquitex acrylic thinned with some water for the legs, mane, and tail. I did 2 coats so as to not get brush strokes. So these next parts I moved around so they'd make a little bit more sense, but I kind of work on everything at the same time to allow paint to dry. I start out by painting the eyes white, then I go back and make the black circles. I find this looks a little bit more realistic than only painting white in the corners. For his pretty brown eyes, I paint a thin strip of dark brown along the middle of the bottom. While it's still wet, I add in some tan highlights. I add a few tiny lines for some more detail. He will have white on 3 of his legs. I did 5 coats to build up the white over the black. I add a bit of white at the top of the hoof. I paint the white hooves tan with 4 coats and then add the white tops to those as well. I use a stiff, dry, honestly just messed up cheap brush and blot off some paint to add the hoof detail. Like seriously, if this brush had a face, it would probably look like this. I start with the white and add in dark brown and grays. I go both horizontal and vertical. I highlight the frog and inner hoof with white. Next, I go back in to darken them up. Now I can add in his blaze and snip. I blush the nose with eyeshadow after adding a matte coat. I remove any excess with my eraser. Can't forget to add the chestnuts. I almost forget every time. I need to make a sign and hang it on my camera. Since this breed is known for their shiny coats, I add in some shimmer gold eyeshadow in the highlights. I check the shine with my phone flashlight. Now I can do the collar. I put a white base down where any light color will go. I do 2 layers of brown acrylic for the straps. I'll be doing the cloth collar this sandy color, and even though I did the white base, I still ended up needing 5 layers. For his name, I decided on Oraz, honestly because it's only 4 letters. I carefully painted on, making sure to look at my reference. I also add little flowers in a border. Right now it's looking a little too gingerbread house, so let's add that tiny black border. At this point, I sealed everything off camera with my Testors Gloss lacquer spray. Since I wanted the straps to be matte, I paint them with my Liquitex Clear Matte. Now for the fun shiny parts. I'm using this Testors enamel in silver and gold. I have one brush I only use for this stuff. For the jewels, I'm using this really pretty shifting purple nail polish. I also make the cloth color matte. I give the eyes extra shine with this Liquitex Gloss. So he does stand on his own, but I don't trust him, so I'll be making a display base. I drill into 2 of the hooves with a bit slightly bigger than the rod. I make sure I'm at a 90-degree angle. I got this metal rod at the hardware store. They have lots of different sizes. The guy that helped me find them told me about his side gig as a ghost hunter for a solid 20 minutes, and I don't know what to do with that information. But anyway, once the holes are drilled, I trace the hooves onto my wood base. I mark where the rods will go and then drill. I cut them down to size, making sure to cover them with a rag so they don't go flying across the room. Once they are the right size, I glue them in with my E6000. I then just painted it black, but I'm thinking about sculpting some sand on it. Let me know what you think. But enough of that, it's time for the final result. Here's the before. And here is the after. I think he came out great, and I definitely learned a lot. He even won Champion Custom at a fun show, so I'm really pleased. I hope you learned something, and make sure to boop that like button and subscribe for more projects.